before I forget. The
Got
recording
it.
is in progress.
Did
Okay.
I hit the button? Okay, I did.
What button?
The button that said got it.
Mm, you got it. Okay, cool.
You got it? Okay. You
Uh,
got it.
let me double check the number of this movie. I think it's 90, 99, 98, 97, 96, 95, 94,
Is this an
93,
indie
92,
film? Are we already doing Fuck Hollywood?
91.
This is an
Return of
indie
the
film.
Jedi is not doing fuck Hollywood.
I mean,
Okay.
It is independent though, yeah. I
yeah,
guess once
at
you
the
go.
All right.
time they were kind of indie, right?
Yeah, that's right. But now it's Disney,
I
so it
mean,
definitely
Mm.
no longer counts.
wasn't it just because he refused to like put his name before the opening crawl, so that he got blacklisted in all of Hollywood for it?
Something like that, yeah.
I
Also, he just
that's
kept total control after making so much money on the first one.
yeah, Hollywood fucking hates that.
And I was just telling Luke the last one for our little off-brand series is Plan 9. This sort of originated because I needed to.
Yeah.
I was talking to John about doing the Love Guru, right? But
Yeah.
him and the other folks at Mission Log have been asked not to do struck material for the time being,
Oh,
so I didn't want to ask him to do that.
I kind of does he like the Love Guru? I kind of like
No, none
wanted
of
to
us have
shit
seen
all
it.
over it.
He likes
Okay.
Mike Myers, which you'll shit
Oh
over Mike
man, yeah,
Myers.
I fucking don't like Mike Myers.
I,
I was
I'll
like, I don't want to fight with John over Mike
I'll be
Myers.
in a great. Well, the thing is, I don't think any of us are going to like the Love Guru, so
Yeah.
we can come in with different parts of vitriol. But yeah, he brought that up, saying that the last show he did in Chicago was a presentation of plans 1 through 8 from outer space. I was like, oh yeah, okay, good.
What?
Like a
For
theater
Mike Myers?
presentation? No, Plan 9. So we switched
Wait.
it to Plan 9 from outer space for next month
Oh, okay. I'm
instead of
you confused the shit out of me just now. I'm like,
no.
who did a presentation of what?
John before he left Chicago did plans 1 through 8 as
Plans
a
1 through 8.
yeah.
So okay. All right.
Well, you can ask
I'll
him
ask
then.
him
It's
later.
a comedy bit, mate.
Yeah, yeah.
It is. I'm just wondering about I'm just curious about the execution.
Okay.
I didn't think that he made 8 movies, but just
No, I think it
Oh,
was the
it's a
same
theatrical.
presentation. Yeah.
okay. Cool.
He just chatted some shit on a
Blockbuster.
stage. It's not very complicated.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. Just curious.
This was before he played Fred Flintstone in the original Flintstones movie.
Mm,
Oh, of course.
yeah. I thought you were just gonna start off with the thing. That's why I wasn't
That
talking.
see, that's a joke. That's good comedy. All right.
In at number 90,
One.
it's oh, you didn't tell me that.
You said 90, dude.
Oh, yeah, then I recounted. I can triple check if you want. 100,
How many times do I have to explain to you, Matt, that I don't hear the part of our conversation in your head?
92, 91. I think I said it, but it might have gotten overlapped Altman style. Yeah, 91.
In at number 91, it's Return of the fucking Jedi. Get on with it.
Okay, there we go.
You gotta keep all of that in, otherwise I just sound like I'm not in the mood.
Sure. You don't want to start off with an F bomb in your first 3 seconds anyway, right? Or maybe
Yeah.
you do. I don't know.
I mean, I do. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I absolutely do.
It's Films and Filth, the Citizen Kane of podcasting. We're getting to Star Wars, where Luke and I have like fastidiously avoided Star Wars since The Rise of Skywalker came out.
Mhm.
But now we're forced to do this movie that we like. Hi, it's Matt here.
This is Luke. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Sanctuary. Oh wait.
This is Mark intruding upon the Sci-Fi Sanctuary.
Yeah. Okay. We let you intrude there several times, so it's not the worst fit.
I stole your
You can
sci-fi
intrude my
idol.
sanctuary anytime you want.
Oh, and I will. There'll be a giant boulder that runs down when I steal your whatever.
This is the
Seaman.
first movie
Yeah.
I remember. This is the first movie I remember seeing in a movie theater, I think. It was Mark might remember this. It was the big box movie theaters between Gwinnett Mall and the highway, which I don't think has been a
Yes.
movie theater for decades.
I don't know if this was unique to Atlanta but we had a lot of malls where the movie theater was just in a separate parcel outside of the mall.
Yeah, so
that might be for noise containment. That makes sense. It's also very easy for them to fucking close them and just leave them abandoned for
decades.
That specific one was, I think, standing there derelict until a couple of years ago.
Right.
Is it a theater again?
No,
It's
no,
a
it was
parking lot now.
that entire mall is actually just dead now. In fact, it was the last time I walked through Gwinnett Mall, it was terrifying. And actually, someone died at the subway there, and they didn't find their corpse for 2 weeks. Their boyfriend
Subway the
them.
sandwich place or Subway the train
Subway
thing?
the sandwich place. The train thing is actually safer.
Yeah, their trains don't run out there. It's way too suburban.
Well, yeah, our train system is the 9th largest in the U.S., and we have, if you look at the map of it, is pathetic. We basically, it's like, I don't know, 30 miles in any direction at the most. It doesn't go out there. Anyway, it doesn't go out to, it barely goes out to where Matt lived.
Anyway, to finish my little tale, four-year-old Matt, I remember going in and we were a few minutes late. So my first conscious movie experience is walking directly into Jabba's den in like full swing. We did go see the movie again and saw the whole thing from the beginning. But yeah, my first movie going experience was 5 minutes late to Return of the Jedi. So
this is, I feel this is an interesting one for me because this is the first Star Wars movie that I remember seeing. I didn't see it in the movie theater. My parents were not really big on going to the movie theater until my sister was born, and then it was usually we were both kind of dumped into whatever movie she was allowed to go into. So I was usually seeing like Disney stuff. But I remember seeing this for the first. I remember seeing this and at the end thinking, okay, so he's going to tell Luke that he's his grandfather. Like I remember knowing that Darth Vader, knowing that I'd seen something, the Empire thing about, and I was just so convinced that the Emperor was going to say, "I am your grandfather."
Took three more movies for that to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say I may have just sort of understood what was the future of these movies at a young age.
So I first saw this probably on a videotape of my parents. I did see them in the theaters when the special editions came out. But my dad has the interesting story. So he was old enough that he was going to see this film on his own, and he went and saw it so many times that he got to see the theater's reel like degrade as he watched it. And apparently the scene where the Star Destroyer crashes into the Death Star, like over subsequent visits, that scene got shorter and shorter and shorter until it just didn't happen. It's like, yeah, they were wearing out the tape. They were going to see this film so much.
That's amazing.
Mark, do you remember going to see the special edition of this one?
Yes, we went. I think we went together to every one of the special editions.
Not the first one, but
because you were on meds from your dental thing.
Yeah, I had all 4 wisdom teeth taken out, and they gave me a bunch of codeine. And I remember coming out like incessantly giggling about the Ewoks, even though I'd seen the movie 20 times previously.
Yeah, I remember I remember your pupils just being dilated, and you just being like, "Whoa!" And I think you were mad about Yub Nub not being in the movie, and I
still am. Last night I did end up watching my Blu-ray, and when I got to that part, I stopped the Blu-ray, went to YouTube, and watched the Yub Nub ending. So I'm still angry about that.
I just watched the original theatrical cut.
Yeah, I thought about it.
It looks fine. It looks kind of sweaty, I guess.
I fast forwarded through some cool bits on Disney Plus.
Gotcha.
I decided to Andrew it this time.
Might as well.
I mean, we all said like this isn't a required viewing, and I would just watch the Blu-ray out of like practicality's sake, like because.
But also, my sleep is absolutely fucked at the moment, so I wasn't going to watch a film last night.
Well, you know how I'm always saying I don't watch movies that many times. I think the last time I saw this was when I saw the special edition with you, Matt.
Oh wow, okay. I've definitely seen it a few times since then. So
I know I've seen Star Wars twice and Empire, I think at least once, maybe twice since that day in 1997. Right? Yeah, I don't watch a whole lot of things a whole lot, so I have some fun perspective on it this time.
Okay, cool. I mean, I definitely saw some new things, but this isn't a film I've probably gone 5 years without seeing. So, the
Well,
last time
this
was
was
three. Last time was when I watched the Despecialized with straight through, which was probably maybe
I
3 or 4 years
watched
ago.
all the Star Warses before we all thought there was going to be a ninth one, and then there wasn't.
oh yeah, that was weird. I forgot about that.
And
The dead
then,
did not speak.
but I haven't watched since then, and I think that's the longest I've gone without watching Star Wars films.
Well, yeah, that one burned you, I guess.
Like, I don't
It
mean without
didn't
watching any.
happen.
I mean without watching all the Star Wars films.
Oh, okay.
This
Because I can't just watch one.
this was an interesting watch because my feeling during the opening crawl was that the opening crawl pretty much was as dumb as the Rise of Skywalker opening crawl.
Well, they're all kind of dumb, aren't they?
They're all kind of dumb. It was, I was like, well, the,
I mean,
we should
yeah,
do this in
somehow
chronological
the
order.
Death Star came back is kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, it's like there is a Death Star and it is scary. And it is, and then there's a massively, admittedly very impressive, but then just massively ornate ceremony where Vader shows up, and that takes basically about 10 minutes.
I mean, the thing is, like,
Vader.
it's not. They built another Death Star doesn't really require explaining, right? We know they can build shit. Whereas somehow Palpatine returned, then never explaining it is bullshit.
No, that is absolute bullshit. And I mean, it made the ending of this movie worse for sure, because I'm just like, oh, he's fine.
Yeah.
Speaking of the prologue, I did my due diligence. I wrote a summary, but I thought it would be better just to go like my Twilight Zone podcast and just do the prologue. And Mark has asked that I do it in a George Lucas voice. So
I would prefer you did it in a Rod Sterling voice, just to.
Either one.
dude,
Follow your heart.
I was practicing my George Lucas while waiting for you guys to get on the
Okay,
Zoom.
fine.
It's
Do your
Lucas
George
now.
Lucas.
Okay.
Luke Skywalker is returned to its home planet of Tatooine in an attempt to rescue his friend Han Solo from the clutches of the vile gangster Jabba the Hutt. Little does Luke know that the Galactic Empire has secretly begun construction on a new armored space station, even more powerful than the first dreaded Death Star. When completed, this ultimate weapon will spell certain doom for the small band of rebels struggling to restore freedom to the galaxy. Okay, that's the prologue.
Okay, that's great.
Oh, they're kind of short when you read them out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just they look
move
long. They look
very
long as they're
slowly.
moving very slowly across your screen.
They move. So here's my thesis statement on this film as I saw it today and yesterday. It
Sure.
took me 2 days somehow. This feels like George Lucas wanted to make an Indiana Jones movie, and he wanted to make Apocalypse Now, and he wanted to make the best Star Wars movie, and the 3 acts are just those 3 things shoved together, which is not bad. But that's kind of what it feels like. The opening feels so Indiana Jones to me that I was like, it's Indiana Jones.
Maybe. So
I have, I think, an unusual take.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
This is my favorite of the original trilogy.
This was my favorite for a lot of my young adulthood. I'll say that, because I think it is the best. The end is the best Star Wars movie, and the beginning is, well, kind
Fun.
of. It's great. Yeah, it's one of the best Indiana Jones movies, and the middle is pretty cool.
I also just think, like, it doesn't seem like it now because we're so used to it.
Mm-hmm.
But ending such a big action mega blockbuster trilogy on, like, no, I'm not going in there to kill the bad guy, I'm going in there to save his soul. It's actually really brave and interesting, I think.
Yeah, and you still get a massive lightsaber battle and a massive space battle to go along with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as the, like, I like models and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this still is far and above, say, the Revenge of the Sith battle, which was supposed to, like, blow your mind even more, I guess.
Well, the one thing that I did feel like here is that this is the only time I'm probably ever going to give the prequels credit, is I think that the Emperor turning Anakin was a little more interesting than him attempting to turn Luke in this film, because he sort of was just saying the same. Luke was, you can't tell somebody, yes, do what I tell you, and then not expect them to be like, actually, I'm not going to do what you tell me. That that happened 3 or 4 times.
He forgot to take
But
him to a literal space opera first. That's how you
the,
wear him down a bit.
the manipulation in Revenge of the Sith to me is more intricate and interesting. However, Revenge of the Sith has a bunch of dumb shit towards the end, like him getting shocked, and that's why he looks like that. That's not smart. And Samuel L. Jackson did not get a noble death.
Yeah, that's just like Professor X, as Luke has mentioned before, Sci-Fi losing his hair all at once instead of just getting older.
Doing it over the films that were apparently set 10 years apart, but none of the actors aged.
Or just
I don't think the prequels should have been set so close to the originals.
You're right, because it was like, oh,
it makes the Empire only existed for like 19 years.
Yeah, and somehow it's the most important. That's not. I mean, Nazi Germany was important and terrifying, but
that was only 12 years. That's shorter than the
But
Empire.
also Nazi Germany was like didn't rule the entire galaxy with an iron fist, right? They ruled a bit of Europe and struggled to expand.
But the galaxy does feel like a bit of Europe in Star Wars.
That's true. The galaxy is like 3 planets.
It's like really small. But, I just all they really had to do was have the Emperor at the end in Revenge of the Sith. They just could have had him wave his hand over his face and be like, "Behold my real visage," and he just looks like that. You know, the stupid contrived. There was a lot of explaining that went on in the prequels that I thought about.
That's why you hate prequels, right? That's just what prequels do. Explain things that didn't need explaining.
They explain things that don't need explaining for people who need everything explained to them. Because watching this today, I kept thinking about, wow, those are such great ideas, and all these Muppets are so great, and someone thought of that, and Boba Fett looks pretty cool. And in my head, I'm just like, there's someone watching this who is just, what's Boba Fett's deal? I need a series about it. And
I need to see him as a small, precocious child.
Yeah, and not only that, but those things went on to happen because people wanted them, and they're bad, and probably the people who wanted them are now complaining about it.
But ironically, I think like Mandalorian delivered what people who wanted a Boba Fett series actually wanted, which was just, let's see this guy in his armor go around being cool.
That is mostly.
I don't mean when Boba Fett showed up. I mean the actual stuff about the Mandalorian. Well, the Mandalorian gets bad when it starts doing the Star Wars thing of bringing in old characters, and making the galaxy small again.
Absolutely. I haven't finished watching the newest season, but
make the galaxy small again. Yeah, I haven't started season 3.
Andor, there is some really good stuff in it, but I haven't watched all of it yet. So it might get bad again. I do really like Andor, but when I'm watching this, I see Mon Mothma, and I'm like, wow, I hope her daughter's okay. And that doesn't need to be going through my head when I'm seeing her talk about military strategy.
I just noticed how spacey she was watching in this, not in a Kevin Sorbo way. Just
that's because birds were making a lot of noise in the church they were filming in, and they had to redub the entire scene.
Damn, I'm glad somebody looked up trivia because I really forgot to.
I didn't look it up, especially now. I was a kid who read a lot of Star Wars books.
Yeah, I just assume that my head is filled with pointless knowledge about this movie.
Yeah, I didn't need to especially look anything up in this case.
Actually, it was Revenge of the Jedi until the last second.
I knew that. I wish I had that poster. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it does. But, yeah, I was just saying that because I think everybody knows that.
But another thing that I think this movie does really well is something that I complain about a lot, which is sort of the Fight Club Clockwork Orange thing, where it kind of gives you the bloodlust that you want as an audience at the beginning, and then turns around and says, maybe Luke was getting kind of evil towards the beginning when he was just like, let us go or I'll kill all of you, and he was just cutting people down.
Well, there was the fan theory that Luke had already, now the sequels already killed it, but had already turned to the dark side at the beginning of this. I mean, he's dressed like a Sith, right?
It's great. That is pulled off so well, and I don't know if George Lucas did it on purpose or wait, who directed this? Richard Marquand?
Yeah, but I mean, Lucas was screaming in the back of the room or something, probably.
Hey, make him more evil.
Mumbling in the back of the room.
More evil.
Make him more evil.
Whatever that is executed so well and so subtly that you really are towards the end. You're like, man, maybe it was so exciting to watch him kill a bunch of people, but maybe I was wrong to want that.
A wee bit of the ultra violence. But yeah, I really did like that theory that he's only doing this because while he is turns to the dark side, he still loves his friends in a certain way. So he's like doing this stuff, but doing it hardcore as he does in the first segment of the film.
Yeah. It's like maybe you shouldn't.
But
maybe you
there
shouldn't want this.
was supposedly an original version where he was more like he did get turned and his friends had to sort of bring him back.
I mean, that
which I
might have
mean, it would
worked.
have been a whole different film, right? So it's hard to imagine it while also knowing this film. But I don't know. I think I like how it is.
You know, the one thing that really bugged me when I was a kid, I guess I don't care so much now, is we didn't get our proper Millennium Falcon everyone in the cockpit shot, right? That bugged me
Was
when I
that
was a
supposed to
kid.
happen?
Well, it just seems like an iconic Star Wars shot, right? And when they leave Tatooine, we don't get a shot of them in there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying that there was supposed to be something in this film where everyone in the Millennium Falcon is shot.
Oh no. That'd be a cool scene too. Sure, why not? Like they get stopped by like space pirates and they all get shot.
I mean, it was supposed to be darker, right?
Yeah.
Han Solo was supposed to die in Empire, I think, right?
That's what
He was
they
just
put in the
Han
carbonite.
Solo. It seems like Harrison Ford wanted to die in every Star Wars film he was in.
Yeah.
Well, really, he doesn't have a lot to do here. I'm not saying he's not great because he is, but he doesn't have a lot to do after the he sort of just stands around looking a little sarcastic about the Ewoks.
He's got to blow
But-
up a seal generator.
He does pretty. I
Well,
think, yeah, he does pretty
that's-
cool in that whole rebel
Yeah.
based stuff. No,
Well,
Imperial
also-
based stuff.
From what I understand,
Also,
the thing with Harrison Ford is, you know, he
Taps
took Star
a
Wars.
stormtrooper on the shoulder. And
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
he took,
that's all fun.
you know, he signed on for Han Solo. It's a job in the original Star Wars. When he did Indy, he got lots of back end because he was already a big star. So for him, he wants to do Indy more than Han Solo because it pays a whole lot more money when he plays Indy.
Also, him and Lucas and Spielberg have full veto power on any indie film they don't want to do. The three of them like co-own the character.
So it's a lot like Back to the Future then.
Yeah, there probably won't
Bob
be any
Gale.
indies after he's dead.
Lucas and Spielberg
Thank
didn't want to do the new
God.
one.
Yeah, but they didn't like disapprove of it. They just couldn't be bothered to do it.
True. Yeah.
I didn't hate Crystal Skull. I didn't see the new one, but I did not
I
hate
do
Crystal
hate
Skull.
Crystal Skull, and I like the new one.
I
Okay.
hate Crystal Skull, and I actually quite like the new one. So
Yeah.
Huh.
Maybe you'll
I'm
hate
just,
the new one. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm saving up to try and buy a car, so I have not been going to the movies.
where do we all land on the Ewoks? I know the Ewoks get a lot of hate, but I didn't have teddy bears. I had Ewoks, so I can't.
I think the
can't
Ewoks
get down
are
on
cool, and I think all the scenes with them are good.
They're cool. There is the whole thing where people are like they're a metaphor for the Viet Cong or
Vietnam.
something like that.
Yeah,
Which is a little weird if you
it
think
doesn't have
about
to be explicitly the Viet Cong. They're just a metaphor for like you can't occupy a place and be it's the inhabitants who know the place. You know,
which makes me kind of wish they were more violent and scary. Like they could have taken it farther because I just feel like maybe it's a little like
I love the Ewoks. I think the Ewok stuff is cool. I think they're cute. Should have been Wookiees.
Yeah, it should have been Wookiees.
Makes sense.
The Wookiee version is just better.
But
I think it would just
they would have made
more
worse
expensive.
toys. I had the one that gets. I had the one that got blown up, and I had a Wicket, right? But a dumb kid Matt lost the cows on both of them, so they literally were just teddy bears.
Well,
Mark,
also
is your argument that they were expensive just because the costumes would be a bit bigger?
Yes,
like require slightly more fur.
I'm thinking
it would have to explicitly hire dwarfs. So
that's true. But the main thing is, I think that if it was multiple Wookiees screaming a lot, it would get pretty old. Also, Peter Mayhew would just have to do all of them.
Watch the holiday special. No, he doesn't watch the holiday special again, where you have multiple Wookiees screaming at each other for like 20 minutes.
What would have been funny would have been if it turned out all the other Wookiees can talk fluently and Chewie's just like that. That's always what I want with a character like this. Like Jabba the Hutt.
Yes.
When we saw other Hutts in the prequels, I wanted them all to be like thin and athletic and muscular, and he's just a fat bastard.
Hell yeah.
Stout Irishman. Wasn't that the original
I mean-
footage from
Oh yeah,
the
I mean
first
he's
one?
still pretty porky in that, but yeah.
Yeah.
He's rich.
I called him Stout, right?
Typical billionaire, Jabba the Hutt.
um, we should have a monster spotlight because we got the Rancor, we've got the
Hell
Sarlacc.
yeah.
Yes.
How do you rate our monsters? And I guess, gee, the monsters are all front loaded
Dude.
in this. Interesting, but we did two very
Yeah.
iconic ones very early on.
The Rancor is great. Cool
They're so
fight,
good.
cool monster design. Very scary and threatening. Awesome. The Sarlacc, especially in the original version, it's just a big, gross, wet hole.
I like that better. I like the fact that you just have to think about what's inside the Sarlacc, but you just get.
Oh
the
yeah,
big
I do. Maybe
goofy
it's
hole.
better than the silly beak, but it's not the fucking sandworms, is it? This isn't the Shai-Hulud.
Well, it's the mouth of the sandworm.
Well, here's a question. If it slowly digests you over 1,000 years, does it also keep you alive for 1,000
Yeah,
years?
that's the thing I always thought. Like, great, but I'm still gonna die within like 2 or 3 of those, like
Yeah.
like a week because I'm gonna starve or whatever.
If that.
Well, Boba Fett survived long enough to get his own TV series.
Is
However long that was.
is pineapple the real life Sarlacc? Because it decomposes your tongue as you break it down, like you break each other down. You win over the pineapple.
Do I wait? Are you saying that you can win against the Sarlacc by breaking it down over 1,000 years?
I could punch my way out of a Sarlacc, no problem.
But then you'd just be underground in a whole bunch of sand.
I can dig through sand. It's easy.
I would see if I could find its like clitoris.
Well, they only
Okay.
added that in the special edition.
Oh shit!
What if you're stuck with the original one?
Well, they'll find its asshole. I don't know.
That could be what you're looking at. How do we we
inside?
know how it eats?
Got to be something in there. I mean, come on. It can't only get pleasure from eating.
You don't know that. It could. That could be how. This is a different planet, a different galaxy, a long time ago. Yeah.
Maybe
Rules
I
could be
just have
different.
a candy bar in my pocket and I just give it a candy bar and it lets me go.
The Star Wars universe is entirely chaste. Nobody fucks, including Sarlaccs.
You're right. What Ben Solo was adopted.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting little thing.
No. Han and Leia conceived him on the Galactic Star Cruiser. Apparently,
Oh,
that was officially in the backstory of the Galactic Star Cruiser. That this super expensive cruise ship you're on is where Han and Leia did it.
people only fuck on cruisers in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
This kind of like I was
Space
saying,
makes you
kind
horny.
of- it's true. This kind of made me hate the prequels. It also kind of made me mad at the sequels because this is such a nice. Not a lot of trilogies stick the landing, even years and years.
Interestingly, this one is sometimes lumped in with third ones that don't land it, but I don't think it deserves to be.
I still don't think I like it as much as the first or second movies, but it's so close. I think it's closer than Return of the King is, or Back to the Future 3.
Both of which I also like.
Yeah, me too. It's just it's hard to do this, especially because
the
none
second
of
film gets to end on a big dramatic cliffhanger, which
Yeah.
is always going to seem cooler at the time than having to then resolve that cliffhanger. That's why, like, everyone loved Endgame. Infinity War is a better film.
Yeah, interestingly, I hadn't thought about it much.
That's also capping off not a trilogy, but what, like 20
Yeah,
movies or something?
One
4
trilogy.
TV series worth of content.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that had quite a cow to roast on the spit and feed to the Sarlacc.
It's insanely high on our list, by the way. Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
And they're really
But
close.
just because they're
really
recent and popular.
close.
Yeah, like by pure coincidence, I guess.
Yeah.
Wonder if
we-
Marvel's going to get anything out between now and the time that we do Endgame.
Hopefully not. And I don't mean that in like I want the strike to continue, but in that gee, wouldn't it be nice if Marvel just laid off for a few years?
Yeah.
They took that 1 year off with the pandemic and then came back with the showstopper that was Black Widow.
Yeah.
I mean, I am more and more just like, after I saw Guardians 3, I guess that one's not quite a
Yeah.
trilogy,
I
but
think that is another good ending to a trilogy, and I
Yeah.
might like that one better than the second film. Partly
I
because
almost certainly like that better than the second film. I think
yeah,
the second film gets a bit too into like, ooh, wacky Star Lord.
yeah.
He's from the 80s comedy.
The thing about the third one of that is that James Gunn somehow knew not to get obsessed with quote unquote ending things.
Hmm.
I don't want to throw out too many spoilers because I'm sure some people haven't seen it yet, but it's nice that it's more about just
It
I'm
ends
tired of
some
this shit.
characters' arcs, but not everyone's.
It's mostly just about I'm tired of this shit. I'm going to do something different rather than
Yeah.
I'm going to die, which is a lot of third
I'm
movie
going to
stuff.
kill everyone.
And Back to the Future 3 is also more about retirement than it is about death.
Hmm. Oh, is this your Toy Story 4 is better than 3 thing again?
Yes.
this.
Well, Toy Story 3 isn't really about death. It just kind of dangles it in front of your face a lot.
Hmm.
So are you putting out there that the 30 minutes of video you can watch from Back to the Future, the ride, is better than Back to the Future 3?
Oh man, I don't know. I haven't watched that since I rode the ride.
I know in the DVDs they put out several years ago, they actually put all of that footage, and you can watch on YouTube too. But it's kind of entertaining.
It was great
once in a
as a
while.
ride. I'm sure it's great outside the ride too.
See,
Mark is double kidding himself because not only has he not yet accepted his own death, he also still believes he'll get to retire.
I also believe I'll get to ride the Back to the Future ride again.
You can only do that virtually. Luke, when you went down to Japan,
I could buy a gamer chair that moves.
USJ, they still have the Back to the Future ride there.
I don't think so. Even the Terminator ride was closed to sell tickets to the Resident Evil ride, but they still had the big Cyberdyne Systems logo.
Have you guys done that? Have you done the Terminator ride, Terminator experience?
I've watched it in YouTube. I've never ridden it for realsies.
I'm saying the T1 million made me laugh harder than fucking anything. It's the T1 million.
I might have done it. I actually don't remember. I know I did
fun.
Ghostbusters, which was in the same spot beforehand, but I'm not sure if I did Terminator or not.
Top notch for a stage show where you watch people who are not or Schwarzenegger run around.
I mean, the Ghostbusters one was pretty class. They had the animatronic top half of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man come on stage.
Nice.
Awesome.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it got replaced by Terminator, which you did see.
Oh, of course.
And then I think it became Twister for a while for some reason.
Universal did this a lot of just changing things where I just went this one time and saw all this stuff that doesn't exist anymore. Like just one time I went and it was like I saw I
now
think
you can
not the Twister. Was an earthquake? Was there an earthquake thing there?
They had one. I don't think it.
Yeah, I did that.
I don't know if it. I mean, I haven't been there since 1993, so I don't know what's there. But I know they have a Jimmy Fallon ride. Jimmy Fallon ride. You can ride that.
Is it just like you're sitting in a car and nothing's funny for 10 minutes?
No, it's race through New York with Jimmy Fallon, and maybe feels more like a Mario Kart ride than the Mario Kart ride does, because it actually does Mario Kart ride stuff.
I heard the Mario Kart ride goes like 0.1 miles per hour or something like that.
It is not fast, but it is quite fun.
Okay.
I gotta go. It's just I'm waiting for the Florida one, so I don't.
The thing with the Nintendo World is like being there is incredible, but the rides are clearly all pitched for pretty young kids.
I mean, I think
I would 100% recommend it as an experience.
Yeah,
but don't expect it to be the best ride you've ever ridden.
I mean, I know what I want is Metroid World, and I'll never get that in a million years. So it's not really fair, right? It's not fair that most of us who like video games have spent maybe 200 or 300 times more playing games than watching movies, but we get that tiny little theme park for video games, and that's it, really, right?
Well, yeah, you can visit Pandora, the world of Avatar.
I've spent
also a movie
6 hours there, so you know.
Okay,
I would love to go there for sure.
I'll go. The animatronics.
I did the Monster Hunter World VR thing at USJ. That was amazing.
Ooh, I want to try that.
No, it's the best VR experience I've ever done.
just wanted to call it Pandora: The World of Avatar because I saw this clip on it was supposed to be a reality show about like Disney weddings, right? But it was clear that people were like, don't just say like, the Avatar land. You have to say every time they say, oh yeah, we're so happy that we're getting married in Pandora, the world of Avatar. Like they can't just say Pandora, they can't say Avatar land. It has to be Pandora, the world of Avatar every time in this ad-libbed real life show.
I got interviewed at Comic-Con once. They were doing, because I was in my Star Trek uniform, and they were doing like spots to go, I guess, like to go in between airings of Deep Space Nine. And they were asking just stuff like, oh, what's your favorite character? Why do you like Star Trek? But they were like, oh, please answer with the question so that we can just air it on its own, right? So like, my favorite character is like, and I was just not doing it on every single one. It was genuinely like the pre-taped call-in show. They were just getting, just say the question when you answer the question.
Goddamn Trekkies.
That reminds me of when there was a thing in one of my Lego sets that said, they're not called Legos. When you refer to them, you should say Lego building system. And I was just like, 5 years old. It's like, fuck this. I'm calling them Legos forever.
That's interesting because I'm from Europe where no one calls them Legos.
What do they call them?
Interesting.
We call them Lego because we're correct.
Oh, you don't put the S on.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
It makes sense.
Yeah, that's totally an American thing.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I didn't know that. I was disappointed yesterday because well, Luke knows which student I'm talking about. Came in with a Spider-Man backpack, Spider-Man t-shirt, and he has a Spider-Man like building guide for Lego, and I'm like, they didn't have the Spider-Man Legos itself, so I was disappointed.
Man.
But yeah, I needed to blindfold him, so I took one of the masks for kids and turned it into a Spider-Man mask for him. So that was kind of fun.
Wait, you had to blindfold a child?
Yeah, and then talk him through a maze, right? But I didn't have like a normal blindfold, so I got like a paper mask and turned it into a Spider-Man mask.
What kind of school do you work at?
Summer vacation fun lessons.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Like, what the fuck is going on? I'm sorry, you just dropped that in. I had to blindfold.
Hey,
like,
Mark,
okay.
I can like times 10 this if you want. When I worked in Canada at the whale camp, we would take the new arrivals at the camp, blindfold them, put them in vans, drive them 15 kilometers to 50-meter high ocean cliffs, sit them at the edge of the cliff blindfolded, and then tell them to take off the blindfold.
Dude, QAnon is sending a van to your house right now.
I know, really. I'm sitting here describing. I'm like, he did that? What the hell? And you'll like this extra step.
It's fine. Matt's allowed to do what he wants to children because he's not trans.
So the Mark will appreciate the final thing. Now, all of that is what the company wanted us to do. That was all like, please do this, right? The part I add is while we were driving them 15 kilometers to the cliffs, I'd play Sun Ra Spaces, the place at top volume. Well, yeah, Luke, we did that. You can appreciate that too.
Yeah.
Wait, the album or the soundtrack from the film?
The 20-minute song, the album. It was about the length of the drive. So
hell yeah.
So yeah. Now it does seem like we were like doing some weird brainwashing thing. I do remember we were very much like, listen to our instructions very carefully. Don't move anywhere we tell you not to move, It gets weirder the more I talk about it, but yeah, this happened several times. Maybe they still do it. I don't know. This place is still there.
Any?
Just one per trip. It's cool.
I wonder if any of them talk about this in therapy now.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the whole point was, you're supposed to see the majesty of this island, like all of a sudden, right? Which is kind of a cool idea, but yeah, the mechanics of making it happen do sound kind of.
Yeah, but what you don't know is that one of them was supposed to be in the second tower, but Matt made them scared of heights.
Interesting.
I don't even know if the timelines work out on that. You're not that much older than me.
I think it might have been after that, but I'm not sure.
When did you notice that Yoda and Fozzie Bear have pretty much exactly the same voice? What age were you when you noticed this?
Like 4?
Like now, because I'm not as familiar with the Muppets as you.
Oh.
Okay.
Was it just me, or were there? Okay, was I the only one who watched the original theatrical cut?
I
watched it like
my dad had the originals on tape and DVD, so I've seen them a bunch.
Yeah, last time I did watch Despecialized. This time I watched my Blu-ray just because I was like, using my computer to do other stuff loading wise, so it was better watch Blu-ray.
For a second, I was like, is Yoda the size of a person for one of these shots? Did he seem like weirdly large for a second?
That has to be forced perspective since we are looking at a physical Muppet here.
There was one
Probably.
animation they couldn't get the puppet to do, so they just got a guy in a Yoda suit and hoped no one would notice.
I'm actually in the middle
Yeah.
of a Jim Henson biography, like right now. I watched the Muppet Show with Liberace last night when I was going to bed. So,
Nice.
um, but yeah, it's talking about how the whole
Is
thing
that
was.
because you got obsessed with Liberace during that Twilight Zone episode recently?
Yes, no,
No,
no. I put in a random one, and the choices are Alice Cooper. That would have been my second choice. And then who else was there? Well, I can't remember what the other two choices were. So obviously they were. I wasn't thinking about those very hard. So it was basically down between Alice Cooper and Liberace, and
I
a coin
mean, the
flip.
Alice Coop, those are both legendary Muppet shows.
Right, right. So it was like one or the other, right? Hey, it's still in my player. Maybe I'll watch the other one tonight. But the main point being that talking about one of his big breakthroughs was, since it's not a puppet show, since it's for television or film, whatever is out of the screen, the camera's eye is whatever. So it's not like, even now, like you see Sesame Street where they're like coming up over a wall or something, right? Which is true, but just basically a lot of this stuff, it's like right out of screen is the puppeteer right there, or the Muppeteer.
yeah.
Like just there is no, they've got this down to a science. They watch themselves performing. So it was also mentioning how when you perform a Yoda or a Kermit or whatever, it's like you're the audience at the same time that you're the performer, which is an interesting. People usually can't watch their performances like live as it's happening, right? So,
Well, Ben Solo, I can't remember his real name. He can't watch his performances after the fact. Adam Driver famously can't watch his. Yeah, I remembered him as I was speaking. Famously can't watch his own films.
There's a lot of actors that say that, but yeah, in the case of Muppeteers, they are actively watching their performances as they do it. So,
I've seen people doing by wearing like a pair of VR goggles and having a drone follow you. You can like exist in third person in real life. I would like to try that one day, even though I think it would fuck me right up.
Yeah, yeah. You just start. You'd probably just go straight to Grand Theft Auto mode and start like breaking into cars and.
Yeah, I would forget that laws apply to me.
Well, you would that with a third person perspective, wouldn't you?
We need more.
I always play as a good guy in games, so
the
I
first
couldn't even
time
complete the Decepticons campaign in Transformers the movie, the game.
the first time I ever played as I've played as a bad guy, on second, third playthroughs. So the first time I ever played as a bad guy on the first time was Skyrim. And it was kind of exhilarating, and I feel like kind of made up for some of the shortcomings of that game where
How long did it say exhilarating before you realized that nothing you do in a Bethesda game has any consequences?
That's the thing. It was at least it gave me a little bit of excitement, whereas I couldn't kill all the blades and side with Parthenax, which is bullshit. But so I shouted them off a cliff until they fell off a cliff, but didn't matter. They were just in the river.
Parthenax.
He's a big dragon. I think
Matt hears fantasy words and his brain shuts down.
There are like 3 dragons in that game, so you don't have to remember a lot of names.
You can give him all the sci-fi technobabble you want and he's fine, but you say one like word that has a little apostrophe in the middle.
Klingons, Vulcans, they got apostrophes in the middle.
It's true.
Yeah.
He's like the Iron Giant if he was a dragon.
Does Parthenax have an apostrophe in his name?
I don't think so.
Okay, just checking. Since we're having the modern viewing of this movie, should we say that Obi-Wan is a gaslighter now?
I was thinking to myself, it's pretty interesting how it seemed like Yoda didn't approve of Luke finding out that Darth Vader was his father, but then just turns around and tells him basically that he has a sister. Like, what's Yoda's game here? Or is he just tired?
He's checking out. He doesn't care. This is
just gonna
what do you do?
Spout some exposition.
Oh, I think Yoda's given up on Luke, and he's like, "Well, we better tell him about Leia because she's now the one who's going to actually fix all of this."
Both Yoda and Obi-Wan kind of feel like they haven't aged super well for me. They feel like they're kind of saying a bunch of vague things, and then if it works out, then they said what you needed to hear. And if it doesn't work out, then you didn't listen to them.
But that's why I think one of the failings of the prequels is making the Jedi, basically space cops.
Yeah.
Whereas the idea of them as more of just like these wandering samurai hermit wizards, which is sort of how the original trilogy presents them, is more interesting to me.
Also, Yoda redeems himself by burning down the Jedi archives for fun.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, he shouldn't have had to do that anyway. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, it doesn't I kind of think that I want more of a straight shooter, or at least the Oracle in the Matrix who keeps it really simple. Like I think she's a better version of this.
Well, it's a case of George Lucas trying to write very clever and mystical and interesting dialogue while not being very clever or mystical.
That's also true.
And it seems Yoda's just goading him on to actually go and like kill himself. He's like, you have to confront a Sith to become a Jedi. How did that work back in the day? There were only 2 Sith. I mean, the Siths must have been busy all day with Jedi confronting them.
It seems like no one can even decide whether it matters if he's a Jedi or not. Like, what does it even get you to be a Jedi?
In this world, especially where he's the only one.
Well, you could take the last.
Who cares?
You could take the Last Jedi tack that anyone can really be a Jedi, or you could go with the Rise of Skywalker, where it's space blood and midichlorians again.
Everyone's a Jedi now.
That was great. Yes, yes, I liked everyone's a Jedi.
The Last Jedi, I think, takes a good swing at it. Doesn't quite connect for me, but I think that it at least tries, where the other 2 sequels do not. But,
I still think The Last Jedi is the best Star Wars film and the only actually good Star Wars film.
That's fair.
I do like we were talking about how big the space battle is and how Revenge of the Sith, doesn't really match up to it. But another good thing The Last Jedi did was kind of paring down its space battle. It's like one intense thing, that was pretty cool.
It should have just, God, it's such a mess. And it bums me out that The Last Jedi exists in the soup of nonsense that we have now, but that's just it. It's can't separate it.
The thing I like about it is you can stop at The Last Jedi and it's a better ending than watching the next one.
That is true.
Like the ending of Last Jedi is like, yeah, there is evil in the universe, but we can fight back. And then and then they realize like, oh, we don't want to give them that message. Quick, make a movie where everything ends fine and good and the status quo is okay. Don't tell them they have to go out and smash the military industrial complex. They pay our bills.
Star Wars has this huge problem where it has to be either, it seems like the world of Star Wars has to either be just massive opulence and everything's wonderful, or fascism hellscape, and maybe the 2 can intermingle a little bit, but there's no the great thing about the first Star Wars movie is it just feels like kind of regular people on a farm, and there's some kind of fucked up shit out there, but it's not the sequels maybe just did too much to undo the happy ending of the and also everybody was kind of sad in the sequels. Like a lot is made of Luke Skywalker being kind of like him being done dirty, and I don't really think so.
I don't think so, because that's how Luke always was. He's always been a whiny Luke.
Yeah, he's just a cranky, but he's still powerful eventually. But the thing that's sad to me is Han Solo, because he's like 75 and he's still ripping off space pirates, and I guess divorced for no real reason other than maybe because he's sad about his kid turning out terribly, which also seems like something maybe he could have controlled. And Leia was just written badly in those. They don't give her anything in those movies except for when she flies, which is cool. But
yeah, because like
that's the bit everyone complains about.
I think they're wrong. Honestly, I think that they should have given her a lot more, because the thing is, in the original movies like this one, she is a very like fiery.
She is the most accurate shot in the original trilogy.
Yeah,
people have done the math.
Yeah, yeah, she's not only that, but I mean, it's so interesting in the first film, which we'll get to in 2 years, how she has the princess accent, and then when they kind of rescue her, then she starts talking like she's from Brooklyn. She's like, yeah, you got, she's got a lot of
It's that Madonna
depth.
affectation.
And then in the sequels, for some reason, she's given a bunch of boring space dialogue, like George Lucas wrote it.
I wrote
weird.
some dialogue for you, which he didn't write though, did he? Or do you mean the trilogy sequels or the sequels? It's hard to know what you're talking
The sequels.
about. Star Wars,
yeah. She has more personality in Last Jedi than the other two sequels, but specifically The Force Awakens, she is just boring.
Okay, gotcha.
She's just the one
fair.
who gets to turn up and give the exposition, I guess, because Luke's not in it and Han's supposed to be the fun one.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing with the new Indiana Jones. Like, there's been some horrible stuff in his life since Crystal Skull, but he's still out there Indiana Jones and like an Indiana Jones does.
Well, the thing, what I love about Indiana Jones is as soon as you put him in front of some history, he's happy.
Oh yeah.
Whereas, like,
yeah,
what makes Han Solo happy? Not money, I guess.
Stealing,
yeah.
Being a rogue.
So,
yeah, it's not. There's so many ways you can write. You can write an older rogue character without having him be just a sad, like space pirate almost dying.
It's kind of like the latter day Red Dwarf seasons where it's like, oh, this was fun when they were actually in their 20s, but now that they're all in their 40s and 50s, it's kind of sad.
I haven't watched those, but I didn't hear anybody tell me I needed to.
They have the occasional good gag, but yeah, it's not like... I would recommend just going and watching old Red Dwarfs over watching new ones.
Can do. Okay. Yes, and also I unfortunately cannot get the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which I did not like, out of my head when Obi-Wan Kenobi is talking, because he's a completely different character here than in that.
Well, he's a grumpy Alec Guinness here, isn't he?
Yeah, like the original Obi-Wan Kenobi, who Alec Guinness played. And the Ewan McGregor version in the series has horrible PTSD, which is interesting, but it doesn't fit, doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I
guess I just like
and then just turn into Alec Guinness. Like, that's not how it works. You could, you know what I mean?
I guess you get another 10 years, right, for something to happen.
Oh, it's almost like taking a fairy tale character and then trying to give them like a 4-hour series that gets deep into their psychology. Doesn't really make sense.
Some people are just like hard motherfuckers, and things happen to them, like their friend turns into Darth Vader and they're just like, well, he's evil. And that's it. I mean, that's kind of, and obviously he was very drunk in Star Wars, but I want to believe that the character is also drunk.
If you're drunk when you die and become a Force ghost, you become a drunk Force ghost.
No, he sobers up. That's the whole thing, is he's so much more sober in the second and third film, because you can tell he's like, oh shit, I need money. This is going to be great for money.
Well, he only had to work a couple days, so
that too.
I was thinking, how does Anakin compare with shitty Star Trek dads like Worf or Sarek?
Not as interesting.
I mean, he doesn't know his kids exist, so
yeah.
Okay, Worf just pretends his kid doesn't exist, so maybe that's worse. I don't know.
Doesn't he kind of get better later?
Well, Alexander doesn't even get mentioned in the new series.
Oh, maybe he's
and there's this whole thing about how they have to do this to like.
Oh no, they shot scenes of Alexander, but he was played by Shia LaBeouf, so they had to cut him out.
Yeah, it was weird. He was like flaying around with a switchblade.
But he was like, I'm a Jedi. Luke was like, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. I'm like, dude, your father's a Sith.
He was a Jedi for a bit. Also, they hadn't even made up the words. They hadn't made up the word Sith yet.
Okay, good point.
Technically,
they were just bad Jedis in this.
Yeah. If you count the Clone Wars series, he was a Jedi for much longer than Luke was.
Yeah. He did a bunch of cool Jedi stuff.
But he's been Darth Vader a lot longer than he ever was a Jedi.
Darth Vader,
same
20 years. I felt like he didn't have 20 years as a Jedi. I don't know.
Yeah, 10, 15 years. I guess he's been still a Jedi, Darth Vader slightly longer.
Ages are a little hard to work out.
But then he becomes a Jedi again at the end. So
yeah, but that's like for 10 seconds.
Yeah, but then he gets to be a Jedi forever in the afterlife.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then he becomes Hayden Christensen.
Right.
Yep.
So I actually did get.
I don't have a problem with him being Hayden Christensen inherently. Just Hayden Christensen does a creepy ass fucking smile. So it's not what you want, the ghost of your dead dad to be looking at you like.
The funny thing is that, have you seen, I know Jake Lloyd, who played him in Phantom Menace, has a troubled adulthood, but if you look at him, he looks like Darth Vader under the mask. Like, he aged into looking like Darth Vader. It's really a shame that it couldn't.
So Lucas made a good choice, except
So
that he
same
destroyed the
seas
kid's life.
actually. I went and got my driving license when I turned. Well, before I came to Japan, I was like, right, I need to update my passport. Oh shit, I'm gonna have to leave my passport at the embassy, and then when I go and pick it up, the only ID I've got doesn't look like me. So I quickly updated my driving license first. But yeah, it meant I had side by side a picture from when I was 17 and when I was 27. And my friend Holly replied on like Facebook with a picture of Anakin next to a picture of Darth Vader with the helmet off. And it's uncanny. That's exactly the transformation I went through.
Okay. If someone gets it then, great.
It's a shame, because I think that was one of the worst decisions that George Lucas ever made, was deciding to make the first movie about child Anakin. There was plenty of stories he could have told about teenage
If he
Anakin.
jumped in around Attack of the Clones time,
and
then we'd have had an extra film to actually see Anakin and Obi-Wan be friends, then the third one would have landed better, right?
Well, that's what the Clone Wars TV series is for.
Exactly. That could have, there's anything from there, both Clone Wars series.
Yeah, make that the whole second film.
I honestly like that stuff. I like both versions more than I like any of the prequel movies.
I do like Qui-Gon Jinn as a character, so like I'm glad we got to have him. But the thing is, there's nothing in the prequels that is the way I would have done it.
Yeah, same. I mean,
I would have done the Jedi entirely differently. I would have done the Empire entirely differently.
Yeah, it's not what I wanted. When
if they wanted to show the birth of the Empire, they should have said it much earlier.
You wanted a Knights of the Old Republic.
And if they wanted to show like the origins of like Darth Vader and Anakin and Obi-Wan, it should have been that the Empire was already extant, and just the last remnants of the Jedi was still kicking about doing their best.
That would have made more sense.
He tried to make the entire history of Star Wars fit into the lifespan of Luke Skywalker.
Well, it just seems to me like he wanted to have a big shiny civilization to play with, which he didn't really do much with, and he wanted to have a child to play with.
It doesn't sound good when you put it that way.
It's not supposed to sound good. Why the hell is there a child? I don't know. Why are we watching child Darth Vader? I don't need that. It's like, I don't want to see child Michael Myers either, Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
But obviously, we're saying things that a million billion other people have said on podcasts before, picking those things apart.
Oh yeah, I mean, you do a Return of the Jedi podcast, you're probably not going to say something new, except for maybe the weird tangents where we were talking about something completely different, right?
So another thing, besides thinking that the Emperor was going to say that he was Luke's grandfather, I remember when I was a kid seeing Darth Vader and Luke hanging out, and my first feeling was, he's right there, kill him. So yeah, that's my whole perspective on it really did teach me. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, I don't know. Because
if any of our listeners want to hear Star Wars podcasting, I would direct them to Star Calls by Dave and James, who've both been on The Sanctuary. James is also on Luke Loves Pokemon, where David had gotten to adulthood without ever seeing a Star Wars film.
Ooh.
And he watches through the whole series with James, a big Star Wars fan, like talking him through them. And it's really fun hearing his takes. And like, so he did it, like, he knew, like, I am your father, like no one could escape that bit. But like, he's going into Jedi, he doesn't know Darth Vader's going to turn at the end and stuff like that. So that makes a really fun listen. And yeah, maybe you will get some slightly different takes than you're going to get from three geeks like us who've grown up immersed in this shit.
When I meet people who haven't seen these movies, I tell them don't watch them, hoping that maybe they'll just find the right time and just come into them naturally, because I
Hmm.
can't stand it when I see somebody who's like, "What? You're seeing the Ghostbusters?" Like, I hate the whole thing when people
Yeah.
act like they've seen an animal in a zoo when they meet somebody who hasn't seen something, because it's never going to be exactly like this is never going to hit exactly like it did in like 1983 or 1997. It's different. It's a different thing. It looks like a 70s movie to me now, which is fine.
It's great.
But
It's a 70s movie with, state of the art analog effects, visible compositing. That's my sweet spot, right? Probably because it's the first movie I saw in the theater.
question for each of you.
Mhm.
Speeder bikes or pod racing?
Pod racing.
I do
Speeder
quite like
bikes
pod
are
racing, and the
dumb
speeder
idea.
bikes, like, yeah, they're not an appropriate vehicle for that setting.
It's true. They're extremely dangerous. That's why I've decided I am on the side of speeder bikes, because they are
I think the speeder
terrifying
bike
themselves.
scenes in this are cool and also relevant to the film more than the pod race was.
Yeah.
But I do love the pod racing, and the controlling it with the two different sticks in the
Also,
arcade is amazing.
we
the
learn
arcade game, yes. Unimpeachable arcade game.
and we get the names of all the pod racers, right? I mean,
That is true.
these are
Okay,
just
I
well
mean,
now
I
you're
can
now you're
only
making me
remember
reconsider.
Sebulba and Quadranero. I can't remember anyone
there's
else.
Bowls. I'm looking at a list here, but there's Bowls, Roar, Bazi Baranta, Ben Quadinaros,
But that's the one I
Neva
named it. Yeah.
King, Toy Dampner, Rats
Bob's-
Tyrell, Ebby E. Endicott, Fud Sang. That's the best one. Fud Sang. Sounds dirty.
Is Bobson Dugnut in that?
I don't know. Here's a few more. Cy Yunga, Cedic Warntajo.
Wait, what?
Michael-
Do you say that last one again?
Okay, I'm gonna spell it and you're gonna say it. Okay, first name
Okay.
Tziddik.
C Dick. Okay. Fair enough.
WRANTOJO.
C Dick Ronta Joe. I thought you said C Dick Wanta Joe. I'm like, is that Yoda saying that Joe wants to see a dick?
See Dick want to, Joe?
Well, Fud Sang also sounds mildly dirty. So what's up with toy dampener? What does that even mean? That's what I'm
That's
saying.
your baby sister peed on your toys.
That's what I'm saying. The names of the pod racers alone push the pod racers above speeder bikes.
You made an incredible case for the pod racing, and now I'm reconsidering. I'll have to think about it.
Is there anything filthy in this film? I mean, we're sci-fi.
I mean,
geeks,
Leia
so
in the
gonna...
bikini.
Okay,
Yeah, for sure. That is infuriating.
Wasn't I've heard varying reports that basically she requested that because she didn't think she looked sexy in the other films.
I sort of thought maybe it was because it was just hot where they were filming, but she looks like
it's metal bikini where it's hot.
I've always thought she looked like she was so over that shit and just assumed it was the actor as well as the character. But she does get to kill her oppressor, so
and also
that.
Whenever Carrie Fisher does talk about those scenes, she seems like very proud of how good she looked.
Yeah, she kind of doesn't give a fuck. I love her and wish anyone else had died besides her. Anyone.
Yeah.
I was also
I've got a list of people I would like to have died, but
yeah, even people who I don't want to die would be on the list lower than higher than her.
I would prefer that both of you had died.
Yeah, me too.
The Rancor Keeper is pretty filthy.
So,
oh god, what was that? I forgot about
the one time. So me and my friends watched the Star Wars trilogy just of an evening, pissed when we were in our early 20s. And at the point we got to Jedi, we were pretty gone. And we decided Rancor looks just like Lurtz from Fellowship of the Ring, which he really doesn't. But then we all started tweeting, even Lurtz cried when the Rancor died. It's something that me and Mus still quote to this day.
It's a very emotional scene.
Means nothing.
I was just watching Temple of Doom, and the Rancor Keeper also bangs the gong at the beginning of the movie. So, as a little fun fact,
there's an action figure of him.
I had him.
There's action figures of all of them.
I had a ridiculous amount of Jedi action figures.
That's the weird side effect of George Lucas wanting to make more money on toys, is that he just crammed a bunch of interesting ideas into this in the form of characters that could be sold.
More
I love it.
successful on Batman and
Yeah,
Robin.
it's great. It works great. Yeah, I
Well,
think that
that's
Last
I
Jedi did that as well.
accidentally makes the Star Wars trilogy so good is that he just chucks these characters in there without explaining them, and it lets you build the world like in your head, right? Whereas if every single one of these characters showed up and like in a GI Joe cartoon told you their name and their deal, like moved on,
It would be the whole movie.
yeah, you wouldn't be as fascinated by them because it's just like, who the fuck is that weird lizard freak standing in the background? I want to read more comics about him.
Well, this is why I don't understand why people don't like the casino scene in Last Jedi, because that's the whole thing. And
Yeah.
to me, that is, I don't understand people's objection with that. I'm sure maybe someone will.
Oh, it's because people's concept of good filmmaking is all fucked up by YouTube Cinema Shins bullshit. So they're like, oh, well, it doesn't actually contribute to the plot because the scheme doesn't succeed. And it's like, yeah, because it's contributing to the thematic meaning of the film. You dumb little fucks.
My
Go
thing
outside.
with that
plot.
scene was it had the most obvious CGI. That was the thing that let me a little raw on the casino.
I almost
But it had
wonder
the
if
most
that's
Muppets.
deliberate because it's like, here's the scene where it's showing you like the way prequel trilogy characters lived. And they all live in CGI.
I mean, I'm on with you that it's the best Star Wars
Yeah.
film, but yeah, okay, that's a good point. Maybe next time I watch, I'll keep that in the back of my mind. It certainly didn't ruin the film or anything for me.
I mean, to me, the only
interesting-
real. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I was just reading an interview with John Boyega where actually that's his least favorite of the three sequels.
Oh, I can see why, because they don't do anything with his character in it, and
yeah, I guess.
then they have his love interest save his life seemingly for no reason, and then so she can kiss him, and then
Okay.
It kind of feels.
It just surprised
not
me that John
saying-
Boyega likes Rise of Skywalker better. Felt mildly surprising.
He's given so much more in the other two movies, even though the other two movies are worse.
You never know, the third movie then just randomly introduces a black love interest for him so he doesn't have to take the white woman.
Yeah.
I do have a 1-star review for Return of the Jedi ready.
Do it.
Okay.
I felt like the title kind of like is directly appealing to this podcast, which is one of the worst films to hold a spot on IMDb's top 250 list. Return of the Jedi is an example of a film that had too many changes before release, changing Chewbacca's planet to a teddy bear planet, removing Lucas's original idea of Luke going on a quest for revenge, and replacing it with a reunion with Daddy. Jedi proves it's no simple task being a Star Wars film. While the actors still give their awe, the alien design is still good, as are the landscapes. It's the plot itself that kills it, not to mention some dumb character deaths, Boba Fett, anyone. Return of the Jedi lacked the darkness, depth, and intensity of Empire. I'll never be able to understand how anyone can rate this 9 or 10 stars. It's just plain bad. I don't recommend it. It's a terrible ending to the original trilogy. 17 out of 36 found that helpful.
That is not a one-star
one-star
review. That's
Yeah.
I mean, I have a laundry list of problems with these kind of websites. But these kind of reviews where it's like, no, I know best what the overall score should be, so I'm going to make my score deliberately try and adjust the overall score.
Okay.
Like, no, the point is you give your review and it gives the average of what everyone thinks. You can't be the arbiter of what everyone else should have thought.
I agree with
cunt.
I agree with you. And I saw that one and actually had the same thought and found a different review. But then when I went to look at the pod racers on back to my IMDb page, it skipped up. So actually that wasn't.
That's okay.
That
I got to have my little rant at why I hate these IMDb people.
And that's why I actually didn't go with that, but got tricked when my page skipped up. The more fun one is Another Pretentious Mess from the King of Crap by Mr. Sister Fister.
Now, this sounds like a 1-star review.
Just when I thought Star Wars couldn't get any more childish and obnoxious, here come Return of the Jedi, the worst of the original trilogy. What an accomplishment. That's astounding, seeing how the other two films are tedious pieces of trash as well. Return of the Jedi is strictly for those who will gladly get down on their knees and enthusiastically open their mouths for George Lucas. So pretty much every fan of Star Wars. 4 out of 19 found that helpful. So there, you got your rank because I got the one I
All
didn't
right.
mean to read. But yeah,
Yes.
that's the one that I had chosen, and after 5 minutes of conversation, forgot.
I would love to know what films this guy rates highly.
Mr. Sister Fister.
Look,
Yeah.
click on him. Click on him. You find it pretty easily.
Yeah.
If-
Okay.
If it's not someone who wrote one review, like almost everyone I've clicked on.
Yeah, that could be the case. Recent. Oh, there's some for The Ring 2. I just watched it and I can remember nothing.
Okay.
Video. Mark, you'll agree with this one. Videodrome. My balls ache from how good this is.
Yeah.
What else? Annie is impressively irritating. This guy is actually pretty prolific. And oh right, I don't do. Does anyone know what the movie Meadowwoods is?
No.
Nope.
Okay, I don't either. It's from 2010. I don't know what it is, but the headline for the review is like puking in a bucket full of Duke. DOOK.
I think we assumed, yeah.
Incredibles 2 probably going to win the Oscar.
Well,
That's not necessarily him saying
was
it's good.
yeah.
Okay. No, they're not all negative reviews here. It's not just, it seems that Mr. Sister Fister, name notwithstanding, is not just a troll reviewer. The name would lead you to think he would be, but whatever.
Back in my day, we called ourselves
He
vulgar
didn't say
names
he was
and said serious
fistering.
things.
He didn't say he's fisting his sister.
Oh, okay. Could be someone else's, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. You got us out of that because, especially in terms of Return of the Jedi, we don't want to think about that too hard.
Was it this movie or Empire that had the deleted kiss between Luke and Leia? It must have been Empire, right?
Empire has a kiss. It's not deleted. It's in the film.
There was a little smooch.
Wasn't there one that was deleted that was a sick?
They have a little,
tongue
don't they have a little
kiss?
smooch in the first one?
There was a hot.
They have a
long-
pretty. It's not. I think you're just thinking of the scene that is in the film, Mark. Because yeah, she makes out with Luke in front of Han to make Han jealous. While
Which
Luke's lying on the bed after getting out of the Bacta tank.
Which
I'll
is
just
really
take your
screwed up
word
when you
for
think
it.
about it. Yeah.
Well, no, it's not screwed up. It's just that George Lucas doesn't plan shit out like people believe he does.
Yeah,
I mean,
That's totally fine. It's just he doesn't admit it.
Not planning stuff out's probably the
But
best way to make things.
What's
unless you just-
weird is
unless you're
so
Damon
that scene
Lindelof.
is in Empire, but Empire does end with the line like, "No, there is another." So even during that film, he decided he was going to have someone else be a Jedi, but he just not decided who it was.
Or it could
Well,
be an
was it-
honest mistake. They don't know it at the time, so there could be a kiss.
Yeah, but that means that he still decided to have that be in there. And sure, it's an honest mistake. It's still a fucked up thing to put in your film.
From them talking in the Ewok village, though, I am convinced that at least they never did it because that conversation would have been way more awkward if they had. So
No, well, as we've discussed, no one in Star Wars has ever had sex.
Well, as far as I know, I don't know if it was after the film was made, but I know that Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader were two separate characters before the first film was made.
Yeah.
I sent away for the
And
Anakin figure. You had to send away for the Emperor and the Anakin. You had to save your proof of purchases. You couldn't just go to the Target and buy them.
Maybe it would have. Do you think it could have? You think this movie, this trilogy could have been better, could have worked if Darth Vader was not Luke's father?
I think it makes the trilogy. I think the trilogy works well for Darth Vader being Luke's father. I think it set a bad precedent for why all the rest of Star Wars is bad. Because suddenly everyone has to be related to everyone else. And
3 planets, 15 people in the universe or galaxy.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. And also, I think it kind of sets up the idea that they're the only ones with the good DNA,
right?
Which is not, just not great.
I think on its own it works, but then even here in this film, Leia being a sister as well, that's a step too far.
Yeah, because the thing about
she could just also have force powers. She didn't have to be his sister.
Well, the thing is that part of what makes a series work, just continuing on, is that just like in real life, you might think you're the best at, say, Tetris, but you know you're going to meet somebody else who's better than you at Tetris. So, and in this film, even you see Luke try to use the Force to just levitate C-3PO, and he gets really tired. Like it's not.
He's not that good. The Force.
The real, fuck up, which I just laughed at, like the whole time, was in Rise of Skywalker when they're just like, we could just levitate a spaceship and everyone shoots lightning and is super powerful, can do everything, and we didn't do any training but are super powerful, and that's because they're Palpatine and Skywalker, because they got the good DNA, which sucks.
I will say that since I've only seen Rise of Skywalker once, in my mind, the last scene of it from you, Luke, is what's your last name? It's Palpatine, bitch. Or whatever they play at the end. That is how the movie. That's how I remember the movie now, which is good. So,
I mean, there are lots of really good memes about that. The ending is probably the best thing about the film, is the memes that came about where she sees somebody else and is like, my last name is whatever, something else.
Yeah.
All they really would have had to do for the sequels, have someone show up who has force powers that's better at everything than the Skywalkers are, and they kill them. It's really hard to kill them. Just like Captain Phasma, how she was just kind of completely wasted.
Well, we have to have our new Boba Fett.
I love her. I love that actor.
She'll get a series in 20 years.
And I love how she was all shiny, and I love the character, and it was a complete total waste where she could have been so menacing. Anyway, that's my rant. That's my 10th or 20th rant.
Yeah, I guess we should wrap up, as Return of the Jedi is an endless springboard for dork rants, but we'll dork rant in other episodes.
This podcast is almost the length of Return of the Jedi now.
Not really, but
I know.
I guess
you idiot. No, it's not.
One more thing. I don't think we've said anything nice about Ian McDiarmid, and he was awesome. That's
he is a delight.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah. Even in the prequels, he does cool stuff, right? And
he was arguably the best thing about the prequels.
Even in Rise of Skywalker, where he shouldn't have been there, he's still really fun.
Yeah, it was the epitome of, I know I shouldn't enjoy this, but I'm enjoying the shit out of it, when he was just, somehow I returned.
The dead speak.
It would be great if he said, somehow I returned.
You don't have enough V-Bucks to defeat me, Ray.
Okay, as for this podcast, we're Films and Filth. You can find us on whatever Twitter is. I don't know. X?
You mean X?
We're X, man. Okay, maybe you should look for us on Facebook. I don't know. Or support us.
Maybe we'll be on Blue Sky and Threads. Who knows?
Yeah. Mastodon, Blue Sky, whatever.
Support us on Patreon. Help pay the lights. That's Podcastius on Patreon. We do this. I talk about the Twilight Zone of podcast. I talk about cult Disney films. I call it Disney. Luke talks about Pokemon at Luke Loves Pokemon. He talks about Zelda at Hyrule Field Report. And gamers game themselves over the games, the game show.
Yes.
Hopefully Patreon won't change its name to Y or something. Why? Maybe
Why not?
Yeah, there you go.
I'm your father, Luke. Okay.
You would have been like 11. I guess it's not impossible.
It's possible.